Arteta and the Gunners with quite the big win over Villa, 4-1 Arsenal. And let's have a look at the top of the table, because as we said, this was a top of the table clash. Aston Villa looking recently like they wanted to throw their hat in the ring for the title race, but Arsenal absolutely with a statement win here, and they stay at the top, 5 points clear of Manchester City, who will face Sunderland on New Year's Day. All right, let's welcome in two more experts today. We've got Frank Leboeuf, who is back in his sauna in his chalet somewhere in the Alps. And we've also got Jurgen Klinsmann joining us as well. But let's start things off, Stevie, with Arsenal, because you guys were talking a lot about it yesterday. You said that recently we have been piling on the questions about Arsenal, and they needed to answer them today with this type of a win. So are all those questions answered and out of the window now?
Well, yes, and the biggest one we had was will Arsenal be able to put teams away, unlike what they've been doing recently? And they gave us the perfect answer today. 4-0, 4-1, beg your pardon, feels like 4-0. And so, yes, the questions were answered. You know, I think the first half, the only problem Arsenal had in this game was for the middle three without Rice figuring out how to stop Aston Villa from counter-attacking. And it took them probably half an hour to figure that out. And so for the next hour, once they'd sorted that out, this really was all about Arsenal. They completely and utterly outplayed Villa, in the second half in particular. And Odegaard, for me, had his best game for Arsenal this season, no question. I mean, the little ball he plays through for Zubimendi is just, it's world class, it's perfect. I said in the highlight, the pace of it was perfect, where he put it was perfect. And it's not an easy finish, but Zubimendi had the easy bit. Yeah. So, yeah, this was a superb performance from Arsenal. And, yes, the questions have been answered today.
Shaka, you agree?
Fully. And the cliched six-pointer at the top of the table. Arsenal, I certainly made the point for you last week or two of Arsenal's inability to win by more than a single goal up against a Villa team who have been in incredible form. You wanted to see how they respond. And the question around Arsenal over the last couple of weeks was this Arsenal going through their blip? Winning by a single goal, but this is their blip. And I think this is worth a whole lot more than the cliched 6 points to this, because this is a marker. Yeah. This is an absolute beating, and you can hear the other side of it. Had Ollie Watkins taken that chance early on, maybe we're having a different discussion, but he didn't. And from there on in, I don't think you can question how good Arsenal were, how dominant they were, how good they were finishing in and around in and around Aston Villa's box. So from there on in, I think Arsenal, as I say, put down a marker. It's 3 points on the board, cliched six-pointer, but against the league's form team, this kind of performance, 4 goals in it, it says a whole lot to everybody else, including Manchester City.
Well, we know that, I'm not sure if Frank, knowing that he played for Chelsea, and Jurgen, who has his Spurs hat on sometimes, would have enjoyed this win as much as the Gunners. But Frank, let me start with you. Statement win from Arsenal, and again, some magic from Gabriel that I'm sure they're very happy to have him back.
Yeah, sure. Even if the first half I was questioning his fitness, because he just came back and he wasn't the Gabriel that I've known and I've seen being very the top of the top. And the first half wasn't really clear for me. Saliba was there covering sometimes his mistakes, but also you have to understand that Declan Rice wasn't also in the middle of the park. On the other side, you didn't have Camara for Aston Villa. Aston Villa lost Onana at the beginning of the second half, so he maybe explain why Aston Villa fall down like crazy. Yes, if you look at the score, if you look at the way they played the second half, Arsenal were outstanding. But you have to look at the first half. You have to look at the way they played at some times. And I'm not as enthusiastic as my two colleagues in the studio. I think they deserve to win overall, nothing to say. But it could have been a different story if Onana wouldn't have been injured and went out, at the beginning of the second half. So Arsenal did the job, nothing to complain about. Credit to them and congratulations. But I'm not that convinced, like Stevie and Shaka have explained.
Oh, all right. Well, let's find out from Jurgen before we let Stevie and Shaq back in. Jurgen, what about you? Are you that convinced?
Well, I think it was an outstanding second half of Arsenal. And they proved the point. And these games around Christmas, New Year's, as Shaka knows and Frank know really well, and Steve obviously, these are very crucial psychological moments around this time in the year. And when you have a statement win like today against Aston Villa, who became kind of closer and closer and competitor for the title, then even better. I mean, the first half was even. Aston Villa was kind of waiting for their chances. They had some small ones, but what Arsenal then showed and proved in the second half was outstanding. You know, the passing sequences, the commitment that they have, the aggressiveness that they showed, and they grinded them down. And I think even in that amount with 4 goals, it's well deserved. So these are now moments where you want to kind of differentiate yourself from the opponents. You want to make a statement to your big opponents, mainly Manchester City, obviously, and tell them, listen, we are ready here. We are ready to win the title this season.
Stevie, what do you have to say back to what Frank was saying?
No, I don't think you can't really talk about the ifs and ands and the buts. I mean, if Gyökeres had taken his 2 chances, I mean, it's as simple as that. David Raya, I don't remember David Raya making a save in the first half. You know, for half an hour, when they were on the counter, Aston Villa, you're watching it going, you know, they look capable. Yes, Saliba made that one great challenge. But again, as I said, Gyökeres, in my opinion, if you're a world-class centre-forward, you're scoring 2 goals. Yes, he gets ahead of the defender for the one we showed, and he should have scored. And I think he should have. And I'd love to know what Jurgen thinks about this. Jurgen's a centre-forward. That first chance that Gyökeres has with a header, it's a clear header. Nobody's challenged him. Nobody's bumping him. And it was a weak attempt over the bar. He should at least have got it in frame. And I think when you're paying 60 to 70 million for a centre-forward, you've got to put that in the back of the net.
Jurgen, what do you make of what Stevie's saying about Gyökeres?
No, absolutely. Those are chances. When they come along, you got to utilize them. You got to take them. And that's what he will think the whole night tonight, you know, that if I would have made that goal, you know, then things look a little bit different, but he didn't.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were kind of discussing the impact of Kai Havertz, and a lot was being made in the press about his pending return, etc., etc. And I think Frank was making the point, which you agree with on the face of, that Kai Havertz wasn't the solution last year. And as a matter of fact, Kai Havertz's inability to play that number 9 is why Arsenal went out and bought Gyökeres. But the truth is, Gyökeres really hasn't offered a lot, and I'm being kind since his inclusion. Now you could actually make the argument that Mikel Merino would have scored those headers, which we've seen. Makeshift centre forward he may be, he has shown at least some prowess in and around the box when he's got on the end of things. But because of Rice's injury, he has to drop back and play in midfield. So even that was not an option. So while I take Frank's point about Villa not being as good without Onana on the park, I think if you look at Arsenal and the adjustments they had to make because of Rice's injury and the chances that they were able to create, they were the better of the 2 teams. And in my opinion, fully deserving of not just the win, but the scoreline.
Jurgen, just back on Gyökeres, like how concerning are his struggles to you? And do you feel there's enough time, enough personnel around him so that he can eventually come good in this team?
Oh, absolutely can become good in this team. The timing is always difficult, you know, for a forward. You know, if you don't score goals, you get criticized. You know, they come up with all sorts of stories, and the only response that you can have is scoring. Start scoring. You know, start making your point. You know, and connect with your teammates and connect. You know, in the games, but also in training sessions and do the best you can do. Absolutely, he can convince people and he can make a difference. He has the talent, but now it's the mind that kind of guides him. You know, the psychological aspect of it, and you got to give him the opportunities, and sooner or later he will break through.
Frank, of course, we're halfway through the season just about. And when you look at Arsenal's closest rival right now in Manchester City, and you look at their big man up front, which is Erling Haaland, and just the destructive form he's in, and you know that you need your big man up front, Gyökeres, for Arsenal to also come good or at least challenge like Haaland is. Do you feel like this could be a concern down the line for them in terms of the title race?
It could, but they have to do with the people that they have chosen at the beginning of the season, and it still works. And we can see Trossard has been very good, scoring and assisting. Saka also, even if today, the first half I didn't really see him. Odegaard is to come back to what we know about him and the quality that he has. Don't forget that Eze was on the bench again. Rice wasn't there, so I think they are complete. And Zubimendi, Merino as well have shown their talent and the performance that the performances that he can get. But no, I'm not worried. I mean, Gyökeres has been chosen against the way that Arsenal plays their football. That's insane in a way, because they don't use the strikers, and we have seen Jesus struggling, Havertz struggling, and now Gyökeres struggling. Manchester City is in the other side of the coin, where they really choose to use Alan at the end. They used to go around like Arsenal do right now, but now they've decided to change their mind and use him more, and that's more effective. So maybe it's hard for Gyökeres right now to fill up the hole that they have in a way that they don't use really as a striker, and that's complex for him and complex for Arteta, because otherwise they will have to change the way they play.
And Jurgen, how do you feel the title race is going? Of course, Arsenal 5 points clear of Manchester City just right now. City to play away to Sunderland on New Year's Day. That could be an intriguing matchup for this title race.
I think that's what we want to see. We want to see a title race that is close, and I think we're going to have it. I mean, Man City will not kind of shy away from anything. They will chase them until the very last day of the season, and this is what we want to see. At least two teams competing until the very end. I mean, it will be interesting to see now how Aston Villa reacts to that big defeat today. But there's so much still to play. And especially when then the European competitions come into play already in end of January, they're going to go back into the Champions League action. So who is able then to juggle all these different competitions on the highest level possible? So this will be an open race, hopefully, until the very end of the season.
Well, we know that we live and breathe by our Don Hutchison's percentages on this show, but our Shaka Hislop loves to give his percentages here and there, but I'm sure you're taking percentages when it comes to your power ranking. So have they shifted a little bit now, Shaka, after what we saw today between Arsenal and Villa?
Well, they've shifted in that last week. I said Villa had a 10% chance, and I think I said Arsenal 50, City 40, and then adjusted that to 47, 43 or something like that. That's too many math. Villa now, well, yeah, you have to cut Villa, and probably saying 5% chance is kind. So that's the adjustment. So I don't see anybody else outside of Villa making any kind of a run. So if Villa's at 5%, now all of a sudden you're thinking Arsenal are up to 50, City 45, something of the sort. Right now, Arsenal are in pole position. City are chasing them down, and we've certainly made the point time and time again that it's a whole lot easier to chase than it is to lead. So we see whether that kind of is telling for Arsenal in the second half of the season. We know how good City are second half of the season, or at least every version of City bar last season's. We know how good they've been second half of the season. And again, the question will continue to come up and will continue to be asked. Can you win a Premier League without somebody scoring 20 or 30 goals a season? We know City can, that in form of Haaland as an out-and-out number 9. Liverpool do it a little differently with Mo Salah coming in from the right-hand side, but you know how many goals he scores. And right now, I mean, Alexis, we were watching the game today, and Gabriel scores, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, has Arsenal scored more goals? Has Arsenal's back four scored more goals than their front three? And that was a genuine question, not shade or any kind of. That was a genuine question. Now, can Arsenal finish a league like the Premier League, while competing in all the cups, including the Champions League, without that striker who's living off half chances. Now, time will tell, but right now, history is on the side of the teams with a 30, 40 goal a season striker.
Stevie, Xhaka does bring up a good point there in the sense that you did say that Arsenal was able to answer a lot of our questions with this win today against Villa, but there still is one or two questions there in terms of, are they ready to be champions? Do they have enough for the next half of the season? Have they convinced you 100% in that?
Yeah, I still think they're favourites. I really do. I think this is a two-horse race. You know, I didn't really think Villa were in this race. You know, we don't know the middle ground with Villa. They started the season, they were horrible, and then they went on this amazing run. We don't know what their normal, what's Villa's normal. We know what City's normal and Arsenal's normal is, and that's why we can nitpick at City and Arsenal, because there's little problems. And that's why the two of them, for me, are the title race. And yes, Arsenal, for me, are the favourites. I think they've got a better squad. I think they've got more talent. I certainly believe there are more goals in Saka. There's more goals in Trossard.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I keep sticking up for Gyökeres. I'm beginning to turn the other way, but I kind of agree with Jurgen. It's probably a little bit early to really get on top of them, because it takes time.
It does take time, but patience is not something we have often in football or in the Premier League. But Frank, I know you, unlike Stevie, had a lot of hope for Unai Emery and Aston Villa the way they were going. It is only their first loss in 12 games. So where do they stand with you now? You don't think they're in the title race anymore? Because I think you were giving them a chance.
I was giving them a chance, and I was giving them like 20%, you know, and at halftime, really, I said, well, I can give even more chances, you know, and go for 40, 30. But, you know, the result says something, and it's a statement. And I agree with Xhaka. It's hard to give a chance to Aston Villa. So, yes, 5% is quite nice to the Villains to maybe win the Premier League, because I really think that they have the players to do something good, but now they are 6 points behind, 18 goals difference, I think, and so it's like 7 points. Even if it's still a long time since until the beginning, the end of the game, the Premier League, I think it's going to be hard for the Villains to catch up Arsenal and follow. And I only think that Manchester City can maybe try to do something. But you know, last year we talked about the Premier League and the level of the Premier League. And I know that's the same question that I want to ask to the guys. You know, do you really think that the level is the level that we used to know? The level has dropped, and I'm not saying that Arsenal is going to win it by default, like Liverpool did last year, and didn't have any contender or to any duels with anybody else, and they started to lose games in March and kept kept the title and won the Premier League. But we questioned last season the Premier League. I again want to question the level of the Premier League, because I don't see anybody having a level that I used to see in 10 years from now.
All right, well, Frank, we do want to talk about that, but our producer, Louise, says that I need to move on, because we're going to talk about Chelsea
As we welcome you into Premier League Goal Zone, presented by Expedia Car Banks, alongside Robbie Earle and Robbie Mustoe. Well, Villa knew this would be a big test, and it was. It wasn't the kind of form that we've seen from Aston Villa recently. We thought perhaps that could come in the second half. It didn't. Arsenal were emphatic and really cemented their place now at the top of the table at this really crucial point in the season.
Yeah, I think there's been a little talk over recent weeks that they've needed own goals and they've had some tight victories. It weren't kind of, you know, flowing properly as we're used to seeing Arsenal, what it was today. And I think against a team that they knew could be dangerous. We've seen that from Aston Villa. 11 wins in all competitions is really good form, and particularly how they kind of progress through a game and get better going on. Arsenal didn't allow it. Too strong, too aggressive, too thorough, too strong off the bench as well, and important players being back, Gabriel being an absolute beast of a defender, not just the defensive side of course of what he does in the box, attacking set pieces as well. So strength throughout, hunger throughout, desire throughout, and just weren't allowing Villa any type of momentum shift, which is what they've used over the last 4 or 5 games.
Well, speaking of the momentum shift, which is what we expected in the second half, it came from Arsenal, not Aston Villa. What did Arsenal do different in the second half that allowed this scoreline?
They allowed their football to play the tension out of the game, and they finished the chances and got the goals, and all of a sudden you saw the difference in the goal in the two teams. People coming off the bench made a difference, but if I can talk about the two Gabriels, and I'm talking one, the defender, who's not only an outstanding defender and what he does defensively, he brings a spirit to this football club that they miss when he's not there. And then Gabriel Jesus coming on with that goal, with his first touch, could be so important for Arsenal to have somebody like him around the football club as they go into the second half of the season, with Gyökeres not scoring goals particularly. And I saw one shot which I thought was really interesting right at the end of the game, where Gyökeres went up to Jesus and was hugging him and congratulating him on the goal. Now, if there's one person who's slightly disappointed tonight, it's Victor Gyökeres, because 4 goals have gone in for Arsenal and he's not got one, and that's what he was brought to do. But this squad, this group, are going to win it through goals coming from different areas of the pitch. And if they would end up winning the title and Gyökeres only gets 8 or 9 goals, that's still a job well.
Leandro Trossard proved to be the perfect antidote to Arsenal's attacking frustrations, following Mikel Arteta's candid remarks about Victor Gyökeres. Gyökeres may have struggled to truly impress since his summer arrival at Arsenal, but over the weekend, there was finally a glimpse of what he is capable of. More importantly, Trossard showed exactly why he could be the key to unlocking the Swedish striker's full potential during Arsenal's hard-fought 2-1 victory over Wolves at the Emirates Stadium. The 31-year-old winger injected fresh energy into Mikel Arteta's side on Saturday night and helped breathe new life into the Gunners' attack. Shortly after replacing Gabriel Martinelli in the second half, Arsenal found the breakthrough. While Trossard did not directly contribute to either the opening goal or the dramatic stoppage time winner, his influence on the game was undeniable. Trossard took control of proceedings, dictating the tempo and pulling the strings down the left flank. Time and again, he dismantled Wolves' compact defensive setup, releasing Miles Lewis-Skelly into space, picking out Declan Rice on the edge of the box, and crucially, feeding Gyökeres with intelligent, well-timed passes. Operating as a creative hub, the Belgian showcased his playmaking qualities, delivering sharp, purposeful distribution. His introduction completely shifted the momentum of the match, and for the first time in weeks, Arsenal's $64 million striker briefly looked like a genuine threat. Before Trossard's arrival, Gyökeres endured a frustrating and ineffective outing in attack. In fact, the Belgian was the only player to carve out a clear-cut opportunity for the 27-year-old forward, slipping a simple yet incisive ball in behind the Wolves' backline. Gyökeres controlled the pass, beat his defender, and aimed for the far post. Wolves goalkeeper Sam Johnstone was beaten, but the Swedish striker saw his effort agonizingly drift just wide. If Arteta truly wants to get the best out of Gyökeres, then granting Trossard a more prominent role in the starting 11th could be the solution. Speaking to TNT Sports after the win, the Arsenal manager openly addressed the challenges facing his marquee signing. "It's a collaboration between the two," Arteta explained. "He was in some really good positions, but the ball didn't arrive quickly enough, accurately enough, or with the precision a number 9 needs to score." But his commitment and intention were there, and we have to keep pushing. Arteta was equally vocal in defending Gyökeres prior to the match, urging patience with the striker's adaptation to English football. "There was huge expectation because we were signing a proven goal scorer, probably with the best statistics in Europe," Arteta said. But he's coming into a different league, the most demanding league in the world. What happens if he doesn't score in 5 or 6 games? That was the only question I asked him. How are you going to react if you don't score in 5 or 6 matches? Can you handle that? And what about the next 100 games? That's what people need to see. The sample size is still very small, so leave him alone. Let him do what he does best. Support him, and I'm convinced things will come good. That message from Arteta resonated beyond the Emirates. In the days following the Wolves' victory, the debate around Gyökeres intensified among pundits, supporters, and former players. While some questioned whether Arsenal's record signing is truly suited to the Premier League's pace and physicality, others pointed to the structural issues around him rather than the striker himself. Much of the post-match analysis focused on Arsenal's chance creation and balance in the final third. The Wolves game highlighted a recurring theme this season. Gyökeres often makes the right movements, but the service into dangerous areas has been inconsistent. When Trossard entered the match, that problem briefly disappeared. Arsenal suddenly looked more fluid, more unpredictable, and far better equipped to supply a traditional number 9. Former players speaking on television and radio were quick to note the contrast. With Trossard drifting inside and linking play, Arsenal's attacking shape became more compact, allowing Gyökeres to stay higher up the pitch and occupy central defenders. That, in turn, created space for midfield runners like Rice and Ødegaard to arrive late in the box. It was a glimpse of an attacking formula that Arsenal have rarely sustained this season. The reaction from supporters has been equally divided. While frustration with Gyökeres' goal return remains, there is growing appreciation for his work rate, physical presence, and willingness to press from the front. Many fans now see Trossard as the missing connector, the player who can translate Gyökeres' movement into genuine scoring opportunities. Internally, Arteta faces an important decision. Persisting with a front line that isolates Gyökeres risks damaging the striker's confidence, especially with tougher fixtures on the horizon. At the same time, promoting Trossard to a regular starting role could mean reshuffling wide positions and reducing Martinelli's minutes, a bold call that would not come without consequences. Yet football at the highest level often comes down to chemistry rather than reputation. The Wolves match suggested that Arsenal's most expensive signing may not need drastic changes to his own game, but rather the right supporting cast around him. If Arteta embraces that idea, Gyökeres' slow start could soon be remembered as nothing more than a difficult adjustment period. For now, the pressure remains. Goals will ultimately define Gyökeres' Arsenal career, and patience in North London is never unlimited. But with Trossard offering clarity, creativity, and calm in possession, Arsenal may finally have found the key to unlocking their striker and turning promise into consistent production.